And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters with Jason Tramm. We're so delighted that you could join us for our unique podcast community, where we explore issues and challenges in the musical world in these crazy times, as seen through the eyes of distinguished colleagues. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and hit that like bell, hit that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics. Like us on social media and please share our videos. And thank you for being here. We have a wonderful guest today. We have an electric violinist and rocker, and who's performed, despite being a classically trained Juilliard-educated violinist. She's also the heartbeat of New York's music scene as an electric violinist with 250 performances at Madison Square Garden and Radio City Music Hall. She's been Grammy nominated and globally celebrated and has performed as a solo violinist with Michael Bublé, Josh Groban, Billy Joel, and Steven Tyler, to name a few. We're delighted that she can join us. She's also represented by Sony Music and 26 Record and has a multi-record deal with both those companies. So we're delighted to have Susan Aquila. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. Very happy to be here. Good to see you.
So happy you can join us. And I haven't seen you in many years, but I've watched your career just explode into a new direction, and how exciting, and congratulations on all you've achieved.
Thank you so much. It's been a long road and an interesting one, but yes, it's been a wonderful journey.
I've gotten to see all these wonderful pictures of you on tour and playing for all these stadium shows, and it's always great to see people you know do wonderful and new and exciting things.
Yes, and it's just been a blast, and I've really enjoyed every minute of it. I really have.
Why don't we go back to the beginning? How did you always know you wanted to be a musician?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I knew as soon as I saw the first instrument go by, that's what I had to do. I didn't know what.
And how old were you? How old were you when you started?
I believe I was 7 when I was given a violin, but I knew way before that.
I can relate. I knew I wanted to be a singer or a musician. I was always doing something musical, and it just kind of followed that path. And
yes.
So you started at 7 at the violin, and how did you take to it right away?
I did. I loved it. I have non-musical parents who never understood it and begged me not to practice. Can you believe that? I'm the only parent who begged me, like, could you just put it down? But I loved it, and I began classically trained, and for many years just a classical player, and I just listened to everything, couldn't get enough. But also at the same time, I had, an older sibling who was listening to The Doors and, Slayer and Iron Maiden. So then I didn't know they were not supposed to be together. I just thought, it's all music and it's all amazing. So I got exposed to a lot of different things.
So right off the bat, you've had the rock background in your life as well as the classical training you're undergoing.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And so you went to college. You went to the Juilliard School. What did you get from that incredible institution?
Great camaraderie, first of all, with colleagues. The beautiful thing about playing an instrument like the violin is you don't really play it alone. Sometimes there's unaccompanied pieces, but you're always, most 99% of the time, you're with a pianist, an orchestra, a pit orchestra. And so for me, the bonding with other people, and you know this as a conductor and as a musician, you have to breathe together and almost read each other's thoughts to play together. That is my favorite thing. That and connecting to an audience, that those are my two favorite things. So when you go to a school like Juilliard that's so hard and so competitive, you even more bond with the people around you because you're going through the same thing. And so and then also, you know, just learning, my teachers there, being mentored, getting just the top-notch education on my instrument was just an incredible experience.
Now you're out there. You finish your degree. You're out there working in the musical world. You play for many orchestras. I know you did. And how did you first start exposing yourself to the rock and roll and the electric violin in particular?
It kind of happened by accident. As you're freelancing in the city, your name gets around, and then started at that time. They started to incorporate string players into their shows. And one of the shows was the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and they had a string section, and I was in the string section. It was my first time playing in a big arena and what that felt like. And also the lead violinist at the Trans-Siberian Orchestra plays electric violin. Mark Wood was the gentleman at the time. And I became friendly with him, and I just, for the first time, possibilities that electric violin has way more colors and way more opportunities in addition to your regular violin. So it became really exciting for me.
Wow. So from there, now you've written your own songs. You've formed many a band. You tour with other different people. What was it like to be electric violinist with some of the stars you've worked with?
Wow. I mean, I can't even begin. But one of the earlier ones was I got to play the last play at Shea with Billy Joel. Ooh. 55,000 screaming people at Shea Stadium. And then the special guest was Paul McCartney. So I'm on stage with a Beatle at Shea Stadium. Like, I was like, I need Depends. I need to retire. There's like nothing going to be better than this. And that was one of the major experiences that, you know, as great as that was, I was still a background dude. And I just was like, I want to say more. I want to have my own voice. And I just want to say, you said I write string arrangements and stuff, but I do team up with people because I'm not a songwriter. Right now I'm working with Joe Cangemi, Joey Jem, and he's written the songs for the first album. The only thing I write are my vocal melodies because I have to write for what my voice can do. But go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, well, it's very exciting. Now, so singing always a part of your arsenal, or did you add that more recently?
It's a recent addition, and I didn't know how much I was going to like it, but I really had to work at it. I just had a manager who just said, "Can you sing? Can you sing a couple of notes?" And then literally the next day I was in the studio trying. So, but I've been practicing and learning the tricks, and it's a whole different instrument. So I'm learning and have been learning how to use it.
Now, so singing and playing at the same time, what was that like? You know, having to master your voices. Okay.
I either sing and then take a solo, or play the violin first. I can do it, but it takes so many hours. It took so many hours for me to figure that out. So,
wow, we'll look forward to that in the future.
Yeah, we'll see.
So what's it like being a classically trained artist active in the rock scene? Are there others like that? Are there a lot of you who have both worlds, feed in both worlds?
I think it's becoming much more common now. I know quite a few violinists who are great classical string players who can improvise and are great rock players. So back in the in the older days when I went to Juilliard, I mean, they didn't even have a jazz division. It was considered sacrilegious. I was crazy for even mentioning that. At the time I said I want to take jazz, and they just almost threw me out of school. And now they have a jazz department, and so times have changed. So yeah, there's more of us crossing over, definitely.
I think the crossing over gives a lot of artistic possibility because it allows new avenues to explore.
Seeing how he works, learning how you put together a song, um, doing instrumentals. So it's all a learning process, and it never stops. Just when you think you have it together, there's one more thing you have to figure out. And but I do try to embrace it. Frustrating at times, but I do try to embrace it.
So, what did your career look like last 2 years before COVID? What was like your typical routine, a typical week in the life?
Oh my gosh, especially the year before. I think we figured out I played like 200 concerts in 1 year. Um, Most of them were with great artists in big arenas in Madison Square Garden and um, going to Philadelphia. A lot of travel, a lot of rehearsals, just always moving, always traveling, always going somewhere, learning something new. It was so busy and such a fertile time. Uh, and I never thought it would end. Didn't see it coming.
Yeah, you're not alone there. I know for me too. It's I was on the road quite a bit. I was traveling, touring, and then all of a sudden, home, March.
Yeah, it's shocking, right? Just shocking.
It was. I think a lot of the 80 artists I've had on the show, we talked about this. What it was like. That first couple weeks, what was it like for you?
It didn't sink in. The first couple, I thought this is going to be over in a month. It's going to be fine. Stay home and practice. And I did. I practiced like 5 hours a day. I was like, to keep myself occupied. And I was learning the Bach chaconne. I was relearning the chaconne. I was hanging in the classical thing. But then as it wore on, it started to really sink in and it just be scary to watch your income go as well as your joy. That's your joy, your identity and your joy. And it's on the shelf. So it's difficult.
So during this time, with all the challenges, what are some things that innovations you've made? Some things you've maybe learned that you wouldn't have done if you were in that midst of your very busy schedule?
Well, the biggest thing, well, we had a big event was that I was telling you earlier, we were chatting, March 11th, I got a record deal with 26 Records Sony Music. And then March 12th shut down. The whole world shut down. And I was like, yeah, I got this great thing and I can't do anything. So, and I stayed home and I was trying to figure out what to do because I needed to deliver an album. And luckily, it's good people around you. But my music partner, Joey Gem, he was able to get the writing process started. We talked over the phone a lot. And then he was able to get in the studio and get a lot of tracks down, like one person at a time. He put down guitar, drum. And then when things opened up a little and I was allowed to go out and travel and get to the studio, then I put down my vocals and violin parts. So it was a slower process because only one person could be at the studio at a time. But we inched along and got the album done. And I think even the label was surprised that we got an album written and done during COVID.
Is it common to do them all separated, or was that a COVID innovation?
I would say it was a definitely COVID influenced. Yes, yeah, because we would all be in the studio, right? And then
yeah, so I figured you'd all be there together, and yeah. Who went first?
I went last, so it was the drums, guitar, and then the bass, and finally, when things could open up and I could get there, then I put down the vocals and the violin, and then came the mixing process. Things started to open up by then, so we could sit, two of us with the masks on apart and go over the mixing phase. But it just took planning. Took a lot of planning.
That's amazing. And how long did the mixing phase take?
Maybe a month. I'm guessing,
Wow.
because you know what? During this thing, you lose track of time. You just they're all the days melt together. So I'm not even sure. I'm gonna guess a month.
About a month. And how involved were you with that type of process?
We had a really great guy, Fred Gruino from Tiki Records, do the mixing, and he would do a mix and send it to us, and we would listen, and then we'd take notes, who gets, make tweaks, and then he would mix it again and send it back. So a lot of going back and forth.
Now, how long has this specific band been together that did this recording?
They were independent players, so they're not the same players as a live band. Oh, some people are. It's kind of artists coming in and out, who was available, who was good for a particular song. So they were everybody was handpicked for each particular song.
And how can people find your recordings? Will they be on Spotify and Apple Music?
That's a good question. I haven't spoken to the label about that yet, because the album's going to be released in early 2021. But I'm assuming all digital outlets, and on Apple, and certainly I'll be posting about it. My website is susanaquilarocks.com, so I'm sure I'll have messages out. Find me on Facebook, or Instagram is Susan Aquila Music. So go and look me up, find me out.
So what was it like? We have our first question from the audience, who asks, this is a violinist from Astoria, Queens, and she asks, what was it like learning to play the violin? And do you use a 4-string electric violin or a 6-string electric violin?
I play a 6-string electric violin that is fretted, if you can believe it or not, which made it much harder. But the adjustment was slow for me, going from 4 to 6 strings, because the strings are much closer together to fit on the bridge. And also the left hand has to reach over to the lower string. So it was definitely a learning curve for me, and wasn't that easy. A lot of other players were saying, oh, it's so easy. And it wasn't that easy. Let me tell you, it wasn't that easy. But you put the work in, you'll get the results.
Cool. And so what's the difference in the technique with a fretted instrument versus a non-fretted instrument for someone who's not a string player?
Oh my gosh. I have to say, I think I cried for the first month, because it's a bunch of speed bumps on the fingerboard. So violinists are used to just moving easily up and down the fingerboard without anything in the way. And now I had a bunch of bumps. And also violin, we are used to adjusting to the pitch just here and there. And the frets were getting in the way of that. And almost I'd have sound out of tune with the frets. If I had to be stuck on a certain key and a certain note. But I've kind of learned how to maneuver it better now. I have learned how to maneuver it better, but it was very strange having a bunch of speed bumps on my violin.
Wow. And some of the techniques that, now you also, I was watching your videos, the pedal boards, you have a lot of effect possibilities. How does that factor into your playing, like when you're live?
Well, first of all, there's the timing of how you move your foot, and when to initiate a pedal, and for those effects. But even the effects, if you're using delay, you're going to use shorter attacks on your bow. You're not going to make such legato strikes because the delay pedal's handling it. So you have to adjust your technique for what effects you're using. So that takes a while to learn how to do, and how to get what you're going for orally.
Excellent. Now, so in the rock scene, you've been touring for the last couple of years, and you've been very, very busy, and you're traveling and you're playing. How do you see COVID changing the rock and roll landscape moving forward?
Oh boy. Well, I think the size of the bands are going to be smaller. I think everything's going to be, so we're not so exposed to so many people. I'm worried about live shows. That we won't be able to do meet and greets with the fans. Certainly, I like to jump off the stage and run through the audience. Like once a show, I just love it. And we had a show on November 13th, and I was busting to do it, and I couldn't. I just couldn't have to stay where I was. So I think it's going to be limiting at first, but I think we'll all figure it out together at some point.
There's so many, speaking to my friends on the Broadway circuit, and, things like the bathrooms and things like just how to control the lines and the audience. And do you think that there's going to be big restrictions on audience sizes?
Definitely. I think my guess is one of the reasons Broadway isn't open yet is they haven't figured out how to do that and still make enough money to keep the production open, right? So they would have figured it out. and it's just a difficult place. You reduce your audience, and then, but you rely on ticket sales to, and it's not just paying the performers. You know, there's lighting people and stage people. There's a lot of people involved on a rock show besides the people you see on stage, and things cost money. So that, I don't know how they're going to figure that out. They have to have enough audience to make the show go. But how do you keep it safe? What's the safe number? And you're right, the bathroom that's the one that always gets me. It's like, well, they'll let you do, A, B, and C, but you all have to go separated, but you all have to go to the bathroom. So
it's so many issues and factors, yeah, and all the business aspects. It's just so many problems. I look forward to the solutions that people have to be really innovative. That's going to be a real innovation coming forward. Is how to maintain safety and still produce a great show.
yes, yeah. I heard that somebody was telling me about Live Nation, that they were, you know, they're losing millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they're trying to figure it out. And it's no one's come up with the answer. I don't think there's going to be just one answer. I think we're going to stumble into it. Hopefully, with the vaccine, things open up a little, we'll start to figure it out.
We're seeing in the classical music world. I've been speaking to artists across the country about this. I know, like, China is doing full seasons. Like, I have friends who are performing in China. They're doing full seasons with their symphony orchestra and audience. I have a friend who's conducting in Spain right now, and a couple other projects are happening. But in the States, I know, like, for example, the Jacksonville Symphony is doing a full season with restrictions, but so you're seeing some of this pop out. So I think we're starting to see a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that's Jacksonville Symphony is a great example, because I think they're going to show that it's possible, and so I think it'll affect other people. Like, why can't another symphony do that? So I hope you're right. That I think things will. They have to happen eventually. I just think people won't stand for it. They're going to have their music.
I have a question from Stephanie from Kansas City, Missouri. Your inspirations.
Jimi Hendrix, number one. Jimi Hendrix. I think maybe I was supposed to play the guitar, because it seems like I lean towards learning guitar solos and getting guitar sounds. But definitely Jimi Hendrix, a big influence as not only an innovator on his instrument, but just when you read things about his life, all he had was the guitar in his hand all the time. It's all he thought about. He was just one with the music all the time, with his music all the time. And I find that very inspiring.
Isn't it amazing? He died when he was 29.
A kid, right?
I mean, you think about that. He's such a hero now, and everyone, he's probably acknowledged as the top top rock guitar player of all time. And he lived for such a tiny, short time.
Right. Yeah. It really is. Well, like Mozart, right? He wrote so much in such a little time period. They were just so incredible. Just innovative and interesting people, all about their craft all the time. I really respect that. I got to work with Johnny Mathis a lot in the day, and he always inspired me because he was off practicing all the time. And his voice was in tip-top shape even in his 80s, and he'd go off stage and be practicing. He knew his show. He didn't have to practice, but he was always getting better, always driven to be better. And I really, that impresses me a lot.
I got to see Johnny Mathis at Ocean Grove because I'm music director there, and I just always love watching him perform. He's my mother's favorite singer. So isn't that amazing that here we have multiple generations who like similar artists, but I think he's a warhorse. The guy is just a beautiful singer and a talented man.
Yes, and a great soul. Really great guy. Work for.
So Jimi Hendrix. How about some of the other guitar players who obviously you must be a fan of Eddie Van Halen, as you've done Eruption. So I know you're a big Eddie Van Halen fan because I saw your Eruption recording, which is really incredible. What was it like covering the great Eddie Van Halen, and what do you have to say about that? Oh no, we lost our guest. As happens when we're online sometimes. We're at the whims of our technology, but we will get her back and we will start again. And we're back with one of the top electric violinists on the scene today. And I see here on a lot of her promo materials Eddie Van Halen of electric violin. So, what about Eddie Van Halen inspires you?
Well, he's just broke the mold when it comes to guitar playing. But I like that he includes a classical mix to rock, and and the way he does it is really what's incredible. He's just so smart and such a technician, and it's just always amazing to. I studied a lot of his solos, and he's just amazing. He's going to be missed terribly.
Yeah, it's a tough year for the rock scene with losing Eddie Van Halen and Neil Peart, two of the legends in my rock side of my life.
Yes, yes, yeah. It's been
each an innovator, each expanded what was possible in the rock genre. And really, like all the musicians today who play both the drums and the guitar, I think are indebted to these people, and they're like some of the most influential artists. With Van Halen, he never took lessons, self-taught on the guitar, took piano lessons, but added that to his guitar playing. And so what was it like to take a classic solo like Eruption and turn that into electric violin solo?
It's so funny. I took it as a challenge, and I announced first that I was going to learn this solo, and then when I went to learn it, I was like, oh, like it doesn't work on the violin. It doesn't work. And so, but what it did was force me to figure out things that didn't really exist and before, or at least to me, that I didn't know about. So different techniques to figure out, well, I don't have that tapping ability, but how do I get it? And how do I get this, screeching guitar sound? How can I get it better? How can I, do it? So it was a very interesting process, and I'm glad I gave myself that challenge. But nobody does it better than Eddie.
Well, so interesting, and every instrument's got its idiomatic possibilities, and to take something that's so idiomatically guitar and change it to the violin, and you were so successful in that. How long did it take you to learn that solo and to really get it comfortable?
Oh boy, it probably took me 2 months to really get all the ideas together, but to put it on stage, it took a little while longer. Maybe another month after that of just drilling it to make sure I had it under pressure.
Do you do one of those big solos on every concert?
Oh yeah, there's always a violin. So
there should be.
A lot of times I have just open improv things where the guitar will my guitar player will play some blistering solo, and then I have to make sure that he doesn't mop the floor with me, and I can take a solo too. So fun.
Now, the improv aspect, which you did not learn at Juilliard, how long did it take to get comfortable with an improvisatory nature of rock and roll?
A couple of years, and not to say, I think I told you earlier, I cried at that too. It was so out of my box of comfortableness. I'm used to seeing something on a paper. I can see anything on a paper and play it, but to draw it out of your head and hear in your mind's eye what it's supposed to sound like and where it is on the violin. And then also, violinists aren't taught to think harmonically. We're just linearly, so just the tune you're playing, but there's harmonies going on that it lines up with. And when you're improvising, you have to know that. You have to know where the changes are, know what's happening a little more than just a classical violinist would normally know. So that was challenging to learn how to do, and did take a lot of time. And I had to cut myself some slack sometimes, that you're learning a new art form to you. And but when I got it, when I could really just lay one solo down like a blistering solo, that was like heaven. When I really got it.
Now, at this point in your career, what do you find? So, what's the most exciting thing about playing rock, that genre? Is it the crowd? Is it the power of the music? What grabs you in the rock genre?
First and foremost, I think, besides just loving the music, playing the music and connecting with the audience when they're singing along and clapping along, and it's just an amazing feeling, and especially in rock when you can have, before COVID, the larger audiences that are just screaming and they're with you, and it's there really is no bigger high than that. That is just unbelievable. But also the power of rock. Um, it's rebellious. It's designed from rebellion, and so there's just an organic place for that. Like, yeah, it's just a good expression, a good venue is the wrong word, a good form for real expression, hardcore expression. So I love it.
I always, before I go on the stage, before a big concert, I always listen to rock to just get myself focused and kind of get myself fired up. I do, yeah, because I find that it's nothing like it for me just to fire up my energy. Because, yeah, when you're conducting anything, for me, it's like you're an electrical conduit from the composer to the audience, but you need to get the energy. Like, if I feel like I don't feel the audience moved, I didn't do my job. And I kind of charge myself up by listening to some good old rock and roll and just kind of getting in my head and just getting my energy up. I find it very channeling.
That is awesome. I love it. I'll have to try that for a classical concert. Just be like, ah!
Well, you got to get up there, and the conductor's got to be fiery and energy.
That's true.
Nothing, I go to a concert and I go to an opera. I love opera as well. When I go to an opera, and I just kind of, it can be either really exciting and charged, or it can be like, meh, it's pretty good, And I always get so angry when it's like, okay, it's like I want to be moved every time I'm there. And when you go to a good rock concert, it's never boring. That's the energy
true.
Is always visceral.
That's true. I believe I played some opera under your baton. I remember out in Jersey. It was fabulous. I just remember it being a great experience many moons ago.
Have you done much orchestral playing these days, or are you focused, or doesn't fit in the schedule? These days, there's no orchestral playing, but I mean, pre-COVID.
I play in the Harrisburg Symphony. I love it. I've been there, oh my gosh, 20 years. So I have a regular orchestra that I always keep those chops up, because classical chops are harder to keep up. They require constant care and nurturing. So yeah, it's a lot of that.
That's good. They cross-pollinate, I'd say.
Good word. Yeah, definitely.
So what do you see as the next step for you as an artist? What are something you've got your eye on? What's some innovations, or what are you thinking about these days?
I'm looking forward to the album release. This has been my first album on a major label, so I want to see if anything happens. I mean, when it catches on, it doesn't catch on, but I kind of want to see what they're going to do with it. And then it's, looking forward to constantly getting more material, recording more material, and, getting the band together, make sure that the show is tight. And eventually my passion is playing live, so I would like to be touring.
Well, I hope that happens sooner rather than later. We're all, every genre is waiting for live music to return, both the artists and the audiences. Have you been doing a lot of virtual concerts or things online?
Not too much. I know it's the thing to do now because we have nothing else, but I still find it hard, that connection. It's strange to me. It's strange to play something and someone's in, another state and they're playing the same thing, but it's distant and strange. Like I said earlier, you learn to breathe with people and mind read with them and bond with them, and you don't really get that. So I just haven't had the strong desire to do that. But I've done a few. I've been in a few of the virtual concerts. I wouldn't turn it down, but I haven't been looking for it either.
Right. It's not. There's no replacing the live, actual people in an audience feeling that you get on both sides.
Yeah.
It's just not the same. And heaven knows, we've seen enough Zoom screens these days, right?
Yeah. It's. Yeah. I mean, really, I know the audience misses live shows, but artists really, really miss it.
What would you say to someone young coming up who's had a similar background, the classical, and then looking at the rock and roll? What advice would you have for someone coming up right now?
Do not let yourself be limited. At least violinists are taught the classical. These are the rules, and that's it. You have to be in this lane, and you don't have to be in any lane. Pick your own lane. Get out, try stuff, and you probably will suck at first. That was the other thing. Let yourself suck, because you won't get better if you're afraid of it, or you're oh, it sounds so bad. Let it suck. Let people tell you it sucks. It's fine. Just keep going, and you will get there, because there's nothing, especially when you're classically trained, there's really nothing you can do. You'll figure it out, and enjoy the process.
Have you taught any lessons, or have people sought you out to teach on electric violin?
Yep, I teach electric violin. I teach regular violin. I hope to do that in person again soon, but it's the virtual kind.
And what percentage of your students are electric or interested in that?
A lot of them do both, the classical and electric. So half the lessons classical, half electric. But about 50% of the students are electric.
Very good. That must be a new thing. I mean, you think about the teachers of the instruments. Most of the violin teachers are going to have no knowledge of the electric violin unless they're specifically like yourself. Like in your generation, it would have been even more rare. But I guess it's taking off.
Yeah, it is becoming more popular with the artist Lindsay Sterling. She kind of broke through to mainstream and got people excited about the violin again. So I think that helped. Yeah, and it's becoming, like I said, it's becoming more popular. People are doing it. But yeah, it's hard to find a teacher, because there are no teachers. Each electric violinist figured it out for themselves. So we talk as colleagues and learn things from each other, but there's no established institution of electric violin.
Well, you're out there doing it on the road and doing it as it happens, and you'll be one of those people who will be helping the next generation to find their chops, to find their voice.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. Yeah.
When was the electric violin invented? When did it start? When did we start the electric violin?
When did I start, or when did it start?
When did the instrument start?
Oh, you know what? I think it was around. I'm not an expert on this. I should do a little research, but I think it's been around for a long time, like 70s, 60s, even maybe. It's kind of been around on the fringe. I couldn't answer the question. I mean, I just don't know for a fact, but it's kind of been around. I'm trying to think who some of the earlier electric violinists were, and it's not coming to me, but maybe it will in a minute or two.
Well, certainly something to think about. And as I think it's a pretty recent instrument, it's certainly taking off. You're seeing more and more violins in bands, and you're starting to see that. And with people like yourself having big solo careers, it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's nice to see. And each player, because everyone's figuring out for themselves, brings really something different and special to the table. So if you're hearing of electric violinists somewhere, they're not going to sound like any other one. So go check it out, because it'll be interesting.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us on Music Matters, Susan. Once again, how can people find out your information, and where can we go to find out more of your recordings, and how can we find out when your album's being released?
I'll be sure to post it. My website is susanaquilarocks.com. My website, Facebook, Susan Aquila, Instagram, Susan Aquila Music, and definitely I'll be posting when stuff is happening.
It's very exciting, and I can't wait for you to be in front of audiences again, thrilling people with your virtuosic playing and exciting style, and best of luck on your album release.
Thank you so much, and I wish the same to you. You are an amazing conductor, and I can't wait to have you out there. I mean, I think he's doing virtual concerts, so he's performing, but
keeping them going as best as possible.
But I want to see you out there on the main stage doing it again too.
That's where we all want to be as soon as back on the real stage and back out there making music in front of audiences. And fingers crossed and the vaccine starts spreading, and we're going to be back out there soon.
Oh yes, I hope so.
Thank you so much for joining us on Music Matters. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and hit that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics. We have a show tomorrow with a composer from Austria, Vienna, Austria. That is Mr. Raphael Fusco. So join us at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and thank you so much for joining us. And remember, keep music alive. Good night.